Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. Welcome to the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. If this is your first time tuning in, and what do I mean by that? I mean by anybody who appears on my show. This show, or my twice-a-week long-form podcast, is a transportation professional. I only bring people on here that have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so we can put the right information out there that you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. I got a special guest I'm going to bring up here shortly. He's been on the show before. He's got some big company news. They're doing a bunch of stuff out there, and we're going to talk about kind of the realities of the market and what they're seeing from their perspective. But before I do that, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And the best part about their product is you get paid to move these trailers. So if you're a small fleet, or if you're an owner operator and your trailer's in the shop, you don't have to shut your operation down while that's happening. You can get on VHub, you guys, and you can grab these trailers and you get paid to move it. And that's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading these trailers out. So what they're working on right now is they have West Valley City, Utah, going up to Calgary, Alberta, and you get $1,550 US to move that. And now this is the one that I'm the most excited about. There's like 200 trailers down in Paragould, Arkansas, needing to get up to Mississauga, Ontario. So you can take this and legitimately create a drop trailer pool at your customers, at your prospects' facilities with this. And you get paid $1,000 per trailer. And now it doesn't have to just pick up in Paragould. You can go over to Nashville with it, Louisville, Cincinnati, whatever that looks like. It just has to end up in the greater Toronto area so it can be dropped off down in Mississauga. And then finally, they have Dallas, Texas to Long Sault, Ontario, and you get paid $750 US to move that. So hit them up, you guys, vhubapp.com. My friends Xavier Campos and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. I got to give a lot of shout outs here. Rick Wooten, good morning. Cody Miller, good fucking morning. Freight enthusiast. Malia August, she says, Grand Rising. Alexis Bailey, happy Monday. Zach Williams, good morning. Zach's with SPI Logistics, you guys. If you want to become a freight agent and take control of your financial future, hit my man Zach up. Sam Hunter, good morning, Coach. Happy Easter Monday. Yeah, happy Easter to all of you guys as well. I know we said that on Friday. It was Happy Good Friday, but happy Easter. I hope you guys all enjoyed your time with your family yesterday. April Maroney, good fucking morning. Let's move that freight Monday. I like that line, April. Luke Wright, good morning. Trey Lincoln, watching over on YouTube. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Flo, good morning. Michael Darden, good morning. It's our good Monday. Thanks for tuning in. Antoine Battle, good fucking morning to all the orange shirt fam out there. And Xavier Campos, good. Make it happen Monday. Freight Coach Nation. All right, I got to bring my guest up before I forget. He's been on the show before. He's got some big news. The now Chief Executive Officer of Burns Logistics, Mr. Ed Burns Jr. Dude, congrats on all of this.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Dude, this was huge. I was so excited. Like when I saw the news being teased that you guys got some big stuff dropping, that wasn't even a thought on my mind that transition was going to happen. I thought, I don't know. I thought you guys were going to make a big high. It's like, I didn't know. And because I wasn't expecting your dad to even look at doing anything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the deal. I'm just trying to get hit. He's still in his prime right now. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sitting here working with him for the last couple of years, and I'm like, man, you are so good at what you do. And you spend so much of your time doing not that. Yeah. How can we fix that?
Yeah.
You know? So that's it. That's really it. It's really to get him more in a position where he's out doing his big Ed thing, meeting people, meeting and greeting, shaking hands, kissing babies. Yeah. That's it.
Watching that guy work, because I've had the fortunate ability to meet up with you guys in person. We've played golf together, spent time at conferences together. Seeing your dad operate inside of a conference, like he doesn't, I swear he shakes everybody's hand there. He introduces himself to literally everybody. It's honestly magic to watch, just to sit back and see, and it's just like, he's got such a unique ability to make, when you're conversing with him in those moments, like you're the only conversation. He's not like scanning to see, is there somebody else more important I want to talk to? He's fully engaged in that moment. And that is just like, it's special to see, because you don't really experience that with a lot of people, right?
Oh my goodness. Right. Yeah. And that's what's really cool, is he's able to create experiences with people. He cares so deeply, right, about people. He's such a people person, in the sense that all he wants to do is help people. Right.
Yeah.
And since I was little, Daddy, what do you do when you go to work? Right. I help people. Right. That's it.
That's very true.
Right. So when he is talking to someone, that's it. He's talking to you because he wants to know how he can help you.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It's very evident. And if any of you guys out there watching the show get the pleasure to meet Big Ed, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about within about 4 seconds of speaking with him for the first time. So, dude, what's up? What's going on in your guys' world? So, tell some people what is Burns Logistics, for those who aren't on social media who are listening to this show right now, man. What is Burns Logistics?
Yeah, we sit in a funky space in the industry, right? So we're sales agents. We have a book of carriers that we represent as their outsourced sales team. So we have carriers that we match with shippers for long-term relationships. We don't really play in the spot market. We're finding contract opportunities. Shippers talk to us because we're bringing them asset capacity that they're looking for on consistent lanes, and our carriers are our clients. So that's it. Does that help?
Yeah. So like, if I'm a trucking company right now, you guys are out there bidding on freight for me, and you guys are dispatching me out on ship tendering me over the loads like that, or how does that look?
Great question. No, our carriers contract directly with our shippers. So we help them through the sales and bid process, but then they're accepting tenders directly, right? Their operations team is doing all the operations and dispatching, because we would just mess that up. We're not that organized.
I appreciate your honesty in that. But no, that makes, because it's like, not every carrier out there has a sales staff, and then especially as it's like, as and you could probably speak to this better than most. And it's like, hey, I have 5 trucks. I want to get to 10. My focus is purchasing the trucks, adding to my operation. But how do I find freight for those trucks? What can I do? I want that steady business. I don't want to sit down on a load board every single day. We have enough assets now where shippers will pay attention, because like, there's that gray area out there, right? Like like the 1 to 5 trucks, that it's not that you can't assist a larger shipper. It's just more paperwork than they want to deal with. It doesn't move the needle for their operation, right? Like, they need a specific asset number to hit to onboard, where really they can plug and play it inside of their organization. So are you guys working with carriers of all sizes, or do you guys have that niche, that 1 to 10 trucking company that you guys really like to work with to find that consistent business?
Yeah, no, Chris, you bring up a great point, right? Because I think shippers right now are a little more picky about carrier size than they were 12 or 18 months ago, right? Yeah. Before it was like, oh, we need trucks. Show us what you got. Now there are people who are saying, no, that you need to have 80, 100 trucks before we're going to talk to them, right? When the market swings again, will they be that picky? No, but our sweet spot's like 50 to 200 trucks. That's where we do. That's where we do a lot of our business. We work with some private fleets that, might have a couple more, a little bit of a larger fleet size, but that's our sweet spot, right? It's usually where the owner's been doing sales, but he's also doing operations, and he's, he or she has a lot going on and just needs some more firepower on the sales side. Yeah.
No, I get it, man. So like, I wanted to talk about the difference between contract and spot freight.
Let's talk about it.
Because I think that there's a major disconnect on what both of them actually mean. Because I see stuff all the time out there on social media. And again, like, the whole point of all of the content I put out there is just to put the right information out there for people to be able to properly discern what they see out there, especially in, the headlines and everything else, because like there's a big difference. And again, I have some friends that are journalists that I have a ton of respect for. They know the industry very, very well. And I'm not discrediting what any of them put out there, but there's a major difference between theorizing about what you might do in a situation and then actually executing when you're the one filling out the bids and you're the one trying to position your assets and plan long-term for your organization. There's a big difference out there. And I see that all the time, like when you see it right now, like tender rejections, very low. People are adhering to the contracts that they honored. And, for me personally, if you're bidding on freight, if your contract strategy is to bid freight at a loss for your organization, that's a you problem. That's not an industry problem. You made that decision to bid on that freight. Now, if a broker out there, I can't be that singular with it, because if you're looking at the overall performance of an account, say you're picking up at 12 different locations for them, and you have another contract that puts you into a location, you're going to bid on that just to move your trucks out, right? Like you're going to bid on that. That might overall account performance, you might break even on it. That's just for what the market is. It's a high volume area. Pricing gets affected more in the, in the power lanes over anything else. And, you make your money in other areas on the account. But I don't think anybody out there is willingly bidding on freight. As a trucking company, if you're looking at it, if you're bidding on a contract and you're bidding on freight that like if your break even's $2 a mile, just for conversation piece, and you're bidding freight that pays you $1.80 a mile, why are who does that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different parties here, Chris, right? And they all play different roles, right?
Yeah.
I think there are fleets, there are carriers who honestly don't know their pricing that well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They don't know their hidden costs that well.
Yeah.
So they may think they're making money, but they're really not.
Yeah.
Right. Because maybe they're not just taking into account like tire replacement costs or something over, per mile. What's my cost for that over time? Right. I think there's an element of that going on. And then I think most fleets right now are being pretty disciplined when they are bidding on freight. That's what we're seeing, right? So we have carriers who are saying, look, I'm not going any lower. Here's the request. Will you go lower? No, I can't go lower, because if I go lower, I'll lose money, and I will not do that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that going on. I think what happens sometimes, Chris, is there are some big brokers out there who are not afraid to bid pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
And I think they just think they'll find somebody to move it.
Yeah, I know the strategy from a large broker's perspective. I worked for a large broker for the first portion of my career.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of data out there that's, trending in one direction, right? Where it's, if you look at national averages, which, I hate, I hate it. Although I understand the need for it, but I hate it at the exact same time, because it's not applicable. Because if you're looking at some of the lanes out there, like if you just pull a national average, I have freight that's moving like 2.5, 3 times more than what that national average is at, right?
Yeah.
And it's very much because it's deterring for, I think, fleets and even brokers out there to think that there's even freight moving for a profit right now, which there is. And I think that, there's a lot of contracted business out there, but really what defines a contract, because I technically have contracted rates with a customer, but they're not published. It's not on an actual agreement. It's just, I'm holding the same pricing, right? So you can make an argument that that's what a contract is. But I don't think there's anybody out there who, from the asset side, from the trucking company side, who is willingly bidding freight at a known loss for their equipment just to move their trucks, unless it's for a greater play that's out there. But that's not a common trend. Now, from a broker's perspective, there's some brokers out there who will bid at a known loss compared to what's out there just to win business. And just because they think I'll find somebody who will do it for, $1 a mile. For example, I hate those brokers too, driver friends who are watching the show. I hate them too. All right. But, the spot market freight that's out there is such a smaller percentage than what is given the weight for it in the overall market, because a lot of it's like maybe 15% of the overall freight that's moved out there is technically spot market.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think what's really important, we're talking about, the pricing of, okay. Well, we're talking about the stuff that's going up for bid right now, right?
Yeah.
And there's stuff that's contracted that's not going out to bid, where carriers are moving, profitably, because they have the relationship with the shipper.
Yeah.
That shipper doesn't bid out their freight ever, right?
Yeah.
And so when the market takes a dip, they stay pretty consistent. And when the market gets tight again, they also stay pretty consistent.
Yeah.
So there's an element of that in the marketplace that doesn't get a lot of conversation because nobody notices it.
Yeah. And that's what I want to talk about the most, though, is because that's an opportunity for a lot of these drivers to insulate themselves from a lot of these market shifts, and it's tempting, because it's the same thing for me as a broker. Ed, it's like, it's very tempting for me to change my pricing when it's favorable for me in the moment, right? But if you're looking at a long-term business strategy, think about the amount of freight that's moved out there, that, when the market was paying $8 a mile or $6 a mile or whatever it was, there was carriers who were still moving it for $3 a mile. And then they're still moving it for $3 a mile today. They don't play the ups and downs of it. They literally are like, hey, this is what I need right now. Hey, diesel fuel is up. It's very obvious. I need to adjust my pricing from that regard. Those conversations happen a lot more than individuals out there want to get out there. There are customers who want that consistent pricing, who understand that. And I think the less you play the market overall, the long-term, because everybody wants relationships when it's convenient, when it's not convenient for them. But they forget about the relationships when it becomes inconvenient or convenient for them, right? And I think if you look at this, if you're in business right now, whether you have 5 trucks, you're just starting out in brokerage, whatever you look for, identify consistency in your pricing. What does a customer need? And the same thing with those carriers, because there's carriers out there who don't even know what they know what a load board is, but they don't even think about load board for freight. They don't think about even getting out there. And if they are out there, they're out there for one load. And for you as a broker, you got to find them, because for the majority of the freight that I'm moving inside of my brokerage, we don't post anything up at all. Yes, we do for new lanes, because we got to drive up capacity. We have to drive on interest to find out, because it's a lot more efficient to utilize a load board to find a carrier who wants to run Oklahoma City, Oklahoma to Nashville, Tennessee. It's a lot more efficient to do that than just outbound dialing trucking companies in Oklahoma City to be like, hey, you run to Nashville? Hey, you have a dry van? It's efficient to use that, but load boards are a crutch, right? It's a crutch to identify the right capacity for the lanes that you're running. And then, hey, let's have some conversations. Hey, what do you need to run this 24/7, 365? This is what our customer has. They are a larger shipper, or they're not even a large shipper. They're a mid-size shipper. They're a small shipper, but they have 5 of these Oklahoma City to Nashville, Tennessee loads every single week. What do you need to run this? What are you at? Because a lot of customers out there don't play the spot market. They don't play any of this stuff. They want to find providers that they can work with no matter what. And that's what is such a miss by so many people, man, is because they want to roll the dice and make a little bit more on the spot market, when that's such a short-term business strategy. It's like there's a way where you can identify more profitable freight, because it's out there, you guys. There's, no matter what the national average says, I would all but guarantee there is a trucking company right now that is contracted at $4 a mile on freight. I guarantee it.
Chris, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How long does it take to build a relationship?
Shit, man. Well, let me see. I've been with my wife for 8 years, going on 9. We're still building. Still wrong 90% of the time. But
those are rookie numbers, bro. You got an accuracy rate.
It takes a long time, man. These aren't done in one phone call or 1 month or 1 year. It takes years, man. It takes 3, 4, 5 years to cultivate that, because we're talking about millions, tens of millions of dollars worth of freight being shipped. This isn't a one-time deal here. Like, this is a lot of risk. It is a lot of money to do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. And that's where I have a little bit of a frustration when I hear people talking about, like, we get reached out to by a lot of small fleets asking us for help, and they're looking for contract freight direct with a shipper starting tomorrow. Right. Yeah. I can start tomorrow. It's like, if you're talking to me now, we're looking in 12 months. Yeah. Right. That's the sales cycle on contract freight. Right.
Yep.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Right. There are cycles, there are bid cycles when's the next bid come out? That's what we got to start looking for. And it could be in 12 months or more.
Yeah. Right.
It's a long sales cycle, and we can start now to get you introduced, to start having some conversations to see if there's a fit. But it's not a magic trick.
Yeah. It takes so much more effort than I think a lot of individuals really comprehend, because they're like, well, I'm calling you, I offer a service, why aren't you just giving me all of this business? And there's a false sense of reality when it's easy, right? Like when people are panicked setting people up in doing all of that. And then when the market shifts and it's like you're the odd one out because you were the last provider that they onboarded, and they have those legacy providers that they've worked with for 10 years that they're not going to kick them out of network. They're not going to do that, because those are the individuals who are doing what nobody else wants to do, right? You want to know why I know there's freight that's moving for $4 a mile out there? Because that is built off of carriers and brokers who have shown up for last minute loads, who have worked nights, worked weekends, who do whatever the customer needs to ensure the customer's taken care of. That's freight that will never see a bid, that will never be contracted. Because trust me when I say there's many bids and many contracts out there. I know, I've had those conversations with people before. They exist, and that's why it's like when I see a lot of headlines out there that are painting and again, I never say that shit's easy, right? Like there are very real decisions that people have to make out there, but there are very real opportunities out there right now for you to separate yourself with your shipper partners, with your broker partners, however you want to spin it. There is a massive opportunity for you to do things a little bit different that's going to keep you in business, and the freight is always going to be out there. There is never a shortage of quality providers that shippers want to set up. There's not. Trust me, I've interviewed like 5 shippers this year for my podcast, and they've all said the exact same thing. We will always set up quality.
Yeah. And the other thing is, excellent communication is not very common, right?
At all.
Right? And sometimes all you have to do, you may provide a great service and show up on time and get the goods where they need to be. And that's great. And that's very important. And absolutely, that's a core to what we're doing here. But you got to communicate. And if you can communicate effectively, proactively, consistently, I think that is like a big differentiator between providers in this movie.
Oh, yeah. That's the difference between, again, getting the off contract freight out there and not. Because, again, it's like service and communication, so easy to talk about. And I'm glad you brought that up, because everybody talks about that. Oh, we're better, communication and everything else. I've had, out of the last couple of shippers that have been on my podcast, the last guest, Ron Kane, his episode came out last week. He said it better than anybody. He's like, listen, service and communication are the 2 most important things to me, but communication supersedes service, because I understand you can have a bad week or a bad month of service, but how you communicate with me in those moments decides if you're going to see any more of my business. Yeah. Because any seasoned shipper understands there's breakdowns, there's delays, there's product that's loaded wrong. Shit happens, right? It's freight. Shit happens. But how you communicate in those moments is what keeps you in the door. That's when shippers start reaching out to you pre-bid and say, hey, what do you need on this lane? What are you at on this lane? Hey, we have a brand new opportunity that's coming about here. We don't want to put it out to bid. We want to give it to you direct. What's your rate? I know you're more expensive than everybody else, but I can justify that to my leadership because track record, rapport that was built up over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then there's the real cost, right? There's the real cost of getting the freight delivered, right? If I have to, you might be the least expensive and you're first on my waterfall, but if you're not accepting or you're failing or you're not on time or I have chargebacks based on your service, then you're not the least expensive.
Yeah.
You become very expensive.
It's those hidden costs, man. A lot of people like to bring that up after the fact.
Yeah.
You know? It's just like those brokers out there who want to put ridiculous late fees and stuff on there, and they're just nickel and diming people, and they're hoping that people don't see that on their rate confirmation. I just look at it like this. Keep doing that, brokers. Keep doing that, because there's a sector of brokers out there who are going to fucking eat your lunch here over the next 18 months. If that's your plan, is to nickel and dime carriers because of whatever happens out there, and it's a failure on you. And that's a hard pill for a lot of brokers to swallow, Ed, is they always want to blame somebody else for it. If there's a delay or something goes on, it's your fuck up, right? Accountability goes a long way in this industry. But if you're out there pressing down rates on carriers when you have a contracted rate at whatever it is, $2 a mile, just for conversation, and you're trying to pay $1 a mile for whatever reason, someone's going to your days are numbered. If you're out there trying to say that a carrier who broke down and informed you of that and was communicating with you in that moment, and then you want to reduce their rate for whatever reason, keep doing that. Your days are going to be numbered, because that style that kind of became popular over the last 3 to 5 years is you're going to have a really hard time, because it's going to reach a point. And I always challenge everybody this: how are you going to handle this phone call? Because I've had this happen to me in my career. How are you going to handle this phone call when your customer calls you and says, hey, why didn't you pay detention to that one carrier? We paid you. Or, hey, why are you charging a late fee on this? We never charged that to you. Why is this carrier calling me telling me you reduced their rate? I honestly challenge every single one of you right now. If you're doing this, how are you going to react when that happens?
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Yeah, I'm not even familiar with that happening. So,
dude, that shit happens more times than not, man. It's just like the individuals who are like, if the detention thing, for example, if a customer, because let me just put this out there. Every shipper has their own detention amount that they pay. All right. Like, there's not a flat fee that's out there. I understand some people want $9,000 million an hour for detention, and some people don't, but the fact of the matter is this: if a customer pays a broker $100 for detention, pay the carrier $100 for detention. If you're needing to nickel and dime somebody that much, $10, $20, you're going to have a really hard time making it in business long term. All right. I'm going to be honest with you. You really will, because that to me tells you that you're not concerned about the shipper's freight. You're not concerned about the carrier. You're only concerned about, how do I make money today? And again, if that's your business practice, fucking do you. All right. I'm not here to tell you how to operate or do anything, but it's not the best way, because if you're sitting there focused on your pennies, it will cost you dollars, because that's what it boils down to, man. That's going to cost you freight long term.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's
carriers deserve that attention. I think, if we're going to talk about sitting and waiting,
we're an open book on this show, Ed. We talk about whatever you want.
Yeah. I don't, if you have a crappy detention, that's just going to get built into the rate anyway, right? Because, all right, 2 hours for $40. All right, okay. Then I'm going to tack an extra, whatever, $120 onto the rate. So,
yeah, I've dealt with shippers in my past that didn't pay detention, right? Like that was a thing. I can't speak for them today. I can't speak for anything but what I'm doing right now. And trust me, if I'm if I get somebody who's held up and I got a shipper or a receiver who says we're not paying attention for whatever reason, from a long-term strategy, it's so much easier just to pay the carrier $100 or $150 and move on with your day than it is to deal with all the back and forth that comes along with it, man. It's such a waste of time. It's such a waste of time because, again, it's few and far between, right? Like, I can't remember a lot of those scenarios in my career at all. But, they do happen. Those are out there and everything. But I don't believe that brokers should turn accessorials into a profit center at all. I don't believe in that. I think that it's pretty shitty because, again, like, we're talking about $100, right? $150. Like, what if you need $150 that bad? You need to look at your fucking overhead. For starters, you need to look at your P&L and see maybe where's some cost cutting that we need to do there. Because I just think of like, again, I have yet to meet a broker who can come up with a sustainable argument on how they can move freight for a profit without trucks. I'm still fucking waiting for that argument to come through on how they can move freight and make money and not actually have a carrier.
Oh, Chris, that's at the end of the day, it's a driver and a truck and a trailer moving the freight. That's it. That's it. And all the rest of us, we're just trying to help make it happen, no doubt. And there's an ecosystem here. But at the end of the day, that's the reality.
You want to know what's funny, Ed? The more I work with carriers consistently and stop playing the nickel and dime game and the back and forth game, the less and less I deal with anything about detention or wait time or anything like that. The less and less I deal with anything. It's amazing how that works. And, again, I try my best in all reality not to negotiate with carriers because I price my freight to move it. I don't price it to be the lowest cost. And I really want to work with shippers who, same thing. Like, again, this is always easier said than done. But again, like, I price my freight to know that I can move it, and I'll gauge the market for what the market is on newer lanes. But again, my goal is to use the same carriers time and time again on all of my freight. And when you actually apply that strategy, not just when it's easier for you as a broker, but like when the market flips and everything, it's amazing how those rates don't jump up from the carrier, right? It's amazing how that just, it's amazing how if it's a last minute shipment on a Friday, there's no upcharge to it. They're like, yeah, man, I'll go in there and grab it for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But again, long-term relationships, Ed, it takes a long time to get there.
It takes a long time to get there, but then it makes sense, right? When you're doing that it just makes sense. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to get somebody back. Oh, I got to get them back. I got to get them back. There's none of that. You don't have that. You don't have that to worry about. Chris, where do you see things going?
Dude, I honestly think no matter what is out there in the market, I see so many similarities to, like, there's going to be a seasonal push. I think holiday freight is going to be a real thing this year. I think my gut tells me at some point after Labor Day, spot market will supersede contract. And then you're going to start to see rates come up. There won't be any rebids. I don't think that there's going to be a rebid at that time to get higher rates. I think that's when you're going to start to see tender rejections come up because people are going to roll the dice no matter what at some point this year. And I think things are going to be rebounding a lot more than people think, albeit this is very much predicated on no massive geopolitical disruptions happening.
Yeah.
So I think if we're looking at it in a perfect world scenario where there's nothing that throws it off, I think that there's going to be a rebound a little bit later on this year. And that's where I see things trending. I think that we're past the bulk of the bullshit of the rates dropping. I'm not going to say that there isn't going to be any changes. But I think that things are going to start trending up here this year. Because if you look at an overall freight cycle, Ed, even during COVID, even during the fucking uncertainty of all of that, guess how long that uptick lasted? 18 to 20 months.
Yeah.
That's how long freight markets are. And if that's just what it is, man. 18 to 20 months, maybe up to 24 months in either direction. So I think if we start pulling it for what it is, we're already at or damn near close to the 12-month mark. of when rates, I think it started like June. So I think we're already about that 12-month mark. So that would put us later this year. But it's complete. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty out there when it comes to labor and the unions right now in the ports and even in the rails. There's a lot of opportunity that could come from that. If they can't come to some agreements, they're going to start shipping that stuff OTR. And when that volume returns to OTR, it's open season, man. The free market's the free market. I love the free market. I love capitalism, responsible capitalism. There's a lot of money to be made out there for people. There really is. And I think it's going to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the free market will prevail, Chris.
It always does, man. And that's the beauty of it. No matter what. But dude, we're already over about 5 minutes. And I knew that every time that you come on, man, we could talk for hours. And I love it. I love the approach that you guys bring to this, because you guys use data, but you're very sensible in your approach. You've seen a lot of this. You've seen these markets. You've seen these things happen before, and it's going to come back. No matter what anybody is saying right now, it's going to come back. And you don't have to go out of business. No matter what data you see, you can find a way. No matter what, if you want to stay in business right now, it's not going to be easy. But when is it? But there's an opportunity out there.
Chris, we fundamentally believe that no matter the marketplace conditions, that if everybody's treating each other fairly and justly and communicating effectively, that there's a way for everybody to win, right?
There. Amen to that, man. Ed, how does anybody find out more about what you guys do? How can anybody reach out to Burns Logistics?
BurnsLogistics.com. We love talking to people.
I love it. I love it. But that's it for today, you guys, the Freight Coach Morning Show. Hey, I saw a couple of you guys asking questions in the comments. Every single Friday is Q&A. All right. So if you want these questions that you guys dropped in the chat today answered, DM them to me. I will answer them live on Friday's show. Or if I look through some articles throughout the week and there's some shitty articles, I'll answer them on an earlier show than that. But if Q&A is on Friday, out there. But that's it for today, you guys. And as always, if you guys saw value in what you heard here today, share the show. You guys subscribe, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, YouTube, all of that stuff. Get this out there. That's how we are the top show in transportation, is because of each and every one of you. Because if you guys see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon. And yeah, man, now we're going to